Hello, everyone. My name is Jeannie, and I'm part of the corporate team here at Signworld, and I'll be moderating our fantastic webinar today. Thank you for joining our session. For those of you who may not have participated in one live or watched a recorded session, I'll just briefly give you a quick overview of what to expect for our time together today. First off, we're going to have our owners, who are going to be our panelists, introduce themselves. They're going to give you a background of themselves, their business, and just a quick overview of where they're located and some other key aspects. So you better understand a little bit more about each of them. And then we turn the floor over to our participants who have joined. Those of you that are prospective owners who are considering this business and want to better understand it. We'll give each of you an opportunity to ask an individual question. We do ask you at each time that you keep it to us to one question. And if time does permit, we'll be able to go around and ask for additional questions from you. But in an effort to allow everyone a chance to ask a question, we ask you to keep it to just one. So with that said, I'm going to first have our owners introduce themselves so you better understand who our panelists are. I'm going to go in order by number of years in business. Actually, no, I'm going to go ladies first because I love having a lady owner on the call. So Margie, let's go with you first today. Go ahead and give us an overview.
Hello, my name is Margie. I'm with American Sign Studio. We're located in Columbus, Ohio. And we're just about to turn 6 years old on June 1st. It's a big milestone for us. We have a whopping 2,000 square feet. This is our very original space. And I have very exciting news because we're looking at a building this afternoon at 3 o'clock to purchase. So that could be a big game changer for us. And we have 8 employees crammed into this little tiny space. And we have in 53% of last year's sales as of 5 minutes ago. And we're hopefully going to get too close to $2 million this year. We'll see. But, you know, we're definitely hitting a lot of good market segments and building a lot of contacts within different kinds of industry groups, which is super exciting for us, and giving a lot of in-person presentations. My corporate background was I worked for a division of Victoria's Secret in product development and sourcing. So once the merchant decided what she wanted to buy, my job was to pick a factory in somewhere in another country, place the order, follow it through manufacturing, and import it.
Awesome. And congratulations on the building. How many square feet is that?
It's a little over 8,000. And this is just our first look-see, but we were peering in the windows last night and we love it. So
you're snooping a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's in our neighborhood, and it used to be a steakhouse. It's been gutted. Anyways, more to come.
The old Ponderosa Steakhouse or something more fancy than that?
It was a Ruth Chris.
Oh, okay. Those are fancy. Very good. Well, good luck on that. I can only imagine what 4 times the space is going to do for you. So that's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Thanks for that introduction, Margie. So let's go to our newest owner who's on our call today, Kelly. If you can go ahead and give yourself a quick overview, that'd be great.
Thanks, Jeannie. And hello, everyone. Again, I'm Kelly from Milwaukee. So we have the Milwaukee Sign Company. We service pretty much the area from the lake all the way up to Madison, and across the country. But our general area is right here in the Milwaukee proper. So we've been in business here on kind of like Margie here. We're 3 years on June 1st. So this will be our 3rd year in our facility. So we're finishing up our 3rd year. So we will be getting to our 3rd year. We'll be in here, and then we're on a 5-year lease here. And our facility is 3,200, just over that, 3,250 square feet. But we have too much office and not enough shop. So, you know, you're never happy with it. We're on a 5-year lease, but it suits us well for now. We have 5 employees, that are full-time employees here. Some, contractors and people that work with us as well. But our staff is at 5 full-time equivalent employees. Our target is 1.5 this year. We're tracking towards that. We're not killing it yet, but we definitely feel we'll hit that. Our biggest customer that we've had recently is again, they constantly, we get that turn big, our national ones. So the ones that you start off locally, and then because there's Signworld people all over the country, you leverage that, tap into it for boots on the ground to install and shipping product to them. But it's a company called Linen King, and they make they clean linens for hospitals in all different places, and they're all over. There's probably 8 states that we're in there, and that for us is probably about maybe 125,000 and continues to grow as an account. My background, I was in corporate. I was in engineering for 25 years, and then came out. But my background is electrical engineering, so we tend to gravitate towards those types of signs because it's interesting and comes kind of easy for us in our shop. So that's me.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate the background. All right, let's go to our other panelist, Mike Sobel. If you can take yourself off of mute and share an overview of your business for the attendees today.
Sure. Mike Sobel, owner of Mark Your Space. We're located in the Chicago area. We are at 14 and a half years here now, looking forward to 15. Our facility, we just last year or a year and a half ago purchased a condo unit that's about 5,000 square feet. We were in a 2,000 square footer for the longest time and busting at the seams, so I feel for you, Margie. We have 8 full-time employees. We're shooting for 1.85 million this year, and our biggest customer, we actually have a couple. One of them builds truck stops, stoops, and right now we have a $400,000 quote out to them right now for a truck stop in Indiana, down by Indianapolis. My background career, I had no clue what sales was. I had no idea what networking was. I was a nerd. I did analytics for the world's largest bank, HSBC at the time, and couldn't have been any further away from signs.
Mike, you cannot call yourself a nerd. I've met you. You're not a nerd.
Oh, I am, but
No,
it's
you're
okay.
It's all good. Hey, I love that we have the Midwestern presence today. We've got Ohio, we've got Milwaukee, we've got Illinois. This is fantastic. If anyone wants to know, I'm from Wisconsin too, so I'm a Midwestern attendee or individual as well. All right, so that's your panelist for today. We typically have Jack Warner also as a panelist, but he is on a Mediterranean cruise and has been for the last 2 weeks. I have no idea where in the world he is today, so I'm not just saying that, I literally mean it. I don't know where he is. But we're really delighted to have our 3 owners as our panelists. So with that said, now we get to turn the floor over and ask our attendees to go ahead with their questions that they have that they would like to have the owners answer. So I'm going to call you out by name. And when I do, if you could just let the owners know where you're located geographically, and then go ahead with a question that you'd like them to answer. So I'm going to start with Emmanuel. If you can take yourself off of mute, Emmanuel, and go ahead with a question.
Hello. Thanks for calling out. I'm driving, by the way, so if it's a bit noisy, please let me know. And please let me know if you can hear me clearly. But Kelly, I resonate a lot with you in terms of being an electrical engineer and being heavy on the kind of quant and engineering side. And then also kind of calling yourself out, the other panelists, in terms of calling yourself out as a nerd. I have no experience in terms of sales as well, but a quick question: how did you approach that in terms of now coming into a new business and learning this new capability of selling yourself and selling your business, and kind of knowing that that's an anchor towards growing your business overall? It'd be great to kind of hear that journey that you went through. And either or, Kelly, I don't know who's best to answer that.
We're going to let them all answer it because it's a really great question, Emmanuel, and one that everyone is always, thinking about when they're considering any business that they have no experience in. So let's go ahead and start with our newest owner. Kelly, you came from a totally different background. How did you learn about the sign industry? Talk about your journey and, how long it took you to get comfortable. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, great question. That is a great question because, I know nothing about signage at all, nor really sales at all, especially transactional type sales. So the way I learned it was really through the, sitting in the sessions as an owner, the training sessions from Signworld. And Ken was running those back in the day, and someone is doing it now. I'm not sure who, but there's a lot of very good information on how how you're not really selling signs, you're selling benefits to customers. It just happens to be signs, and understanding what their pain points are, what they're looking to kind of accomplish, why they want a sign, and then fill in the need with good product and great service. So for me, it was kind of learning, on the fly. In the products, there's a lot of great information out in the Signworld website. That's where I learned it all. I didn't know anything about signs whatsoever when I started, but there's more than enough information there. And it took me, I think sitting in my dining room for the first 6 months, I think we transacted about just again, the materials that you have and the knowledge and the vendors that you're set up with, $200,000-$300,000 just learning on the fly. So it's definitely, the materials are there to learn about signage in the industry and how to sell it.
What type of timeline do you feel that you started to feel really comfortable, that you understood what you were talking about and felt, easier talking to customers about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would think, probably around that 6-month mark where, you getting there first and being well prepared, and, anyone can like scrape the internet a little bit and figure out where you're going, and sounding like a genius and sound like, everything about someone's industry, and then let them talk about themselves. 6 months before I felt really comfortable doing that, and then knowing enough about signage where I could actually provide a solution to satisfy their need and not just sell them a sign. About 6 months.
Okay, very good. Margie, why don't you share a little bit about your journey and learning the business?
Yeah, I would agree with Kelly. I literally today ran across my notes from Jack's school. So you spend a whole week with Signworld, and you go through like, how do you sell a sign? What do you learn about signs? That kind of thing was super, super, super helpful. And you get a lot of good ideas. And then they send you out with all these ideas of things that some resonate with you, some of them don't. And you pick the ones that you like and you do that where you feel comfortable. 'Cause there's some people in our group who are extroverts and some of them who are introverts. The CPAs of the group, don't like to get out, and some of us do. So those people just kind of, pick different lanes. And so there's lots of networking opportunities, places that you can meet groups of people for breakfast. And you really kind of just need like a really quick commercial, like a 30-second blurb of what you do and how you do it. And it's just, handing someone your business card. And literally part of training was like how to get rid of 500 business cards in the first month of being open. And getting your name out there and making connections and the people that you know in your community, or even some people are just starting in a whole new area, where to go and drop cards off, those kinds of things. There's just at least 1 million ideas. And the neat thing is you're probably looking at us like we're a little bit crazy, but the support network that lives in the Signworld group is real. And if you need help, you need support, you need ideas, any one of us is more than willing to lend a hand, lend advice, tell you are crazy or you aren't. But those are the kinds of things that we do for one another, just because, we understand where you're at and where you're going.
I love that analogy. And it makes me think of, what was the game show that had Regis as the host, and it was Phone a Friend. I can't remember
exactly
what the name of the show is, but it makes me think of that. And I'm going to put you on the spot, Margie. What's your 30-second pitch about your business?
Oh, so, I'm so glad you asked, because we do commercial branding and signage. It's really kind of special. So specialized to not just an environment, but to solving problems. And golly.
I did put you on the spot. That's okay. Yeah. You're good. You're good.
Somebody needs to practice.
I know, right? I'm so used to giving in-person presentations now that I don't even go networking.
All right. I'll give you another 5 minutes to think about it.
We help businesses all the time by discovering ways to enhance their visual communication and differentiate themselves. We do this in some really cool ways with signage and branding. What makes our experience unique is that not only can we offer creative solutions, but we are producers who can execute. If you know someone who truly wants to understand how to build their brand, how to visually communicate better to achieve their goals, these are the kinds of people that we want to meet with.
I
So
love it.
it
Well
was
done.
written.
Well
Paul came
done.
to the rescue.
There you go. No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that. That was
No,
very,
I'm glad you did.
you're never going to volunteer to be a panelist again.
I will.
Hell. All right, let's go to Mike Sobel. Mike, I know you definitely didn't know about signage. You talked about being an analyst. Talk a little bit about your journey and learning the business and what your resources were that helped you do that.
Sure, just like Margie and Kelly mentioned, the classes every week online. Although you can make excuses not to show up to them, you shouldn't. You do get a lot of not just knowledge, but you do start soaking up information about sales. I am an introvert. This journey has made me become an extroverted introvert. And I'm very glad that it did, because I never saw that side of myself before. Another thing that was very impactful for me was actually reading some good books. If you've never heard of Jeffrey Gitomer, highly recommend you pick up a couple of his books. They're the simplest, easiest reads. If you flip them open before you owned a sign business and were doing sales, you would never buy them, but you will find them very invaluable. In fact, I read Jeffrey Gitomer's little golden book, A Yes Attitude, at least once every other week.
Very good. Very good. Thanks for all that information. That was very helpful. Let's go to our next guest to ask a question. Jamie and group. I know you got several of you there, so you're going to have to just come up with one question that you all agree on. That might be tough.
Oh, that's impossible. We're arguing about it right now. So just real quick, our background, we're from Michigan. We are a team of four, my wife and two of my sons. We all have Michigan State degrees. My wife's a teacher. Mine was in accounting. I was a vice president at Comerica Bank and an investment advisor. And then my son has an econ degree, and my other son has an advertising management degree. So we're wondering if we can do this. I think my question would be, can I ask two quick questions? The first was, do we need to absolutely hire somebody with graphic design expertise, somebody familiar with the sign industry? And then number two, what was everybody's first year like? What's the most important thing to do? Is it marketing? Was it all networking? Things like that.
Great question. And I love that you said that you're a team of four, because I think that kind of frames up the potential answer to the first question. So let's talk about that. I'm going to go with Mike, the more experienced and veteran owner of the call here today. Mike, what's your thoughts about hiring an experienced person to start, knowing it's you plus maybe a few extra to help you? And then what are the most important aspects, thinking back to your first year, to really make sure you're successful in the business?
What was the second part? I'm sorry.
Keys to success in the first year.
Okay. So your first question about hiring a graphic designer. My initial reaction was to say yes, because you can learn a lot from them and then do it yourself if you need to, somebody who's good at it. But I mean, realistically, you've got four people there. If somebody has the aptitude to learn Illustrator and maybe InDesign, you could probably do it yourself. It will require a lot of work. You need to start looking at other people's proofs so you can create your own, so you can come off looking really professional from the very beginning. That definitely is something that I was lacking. And not just because I didn't hire a graphic designer, but we didn't have a full-time graphic designer, somebody who was dedicated to it. I hired somebody who was a sign maker / graphic designer. And I think that hindered my growth partially, because I didn't come across as professionally as I could. You know, these days you can learn everything you need to know online with a YouTube video.
Yeah, it's a little different than it was 12 years ago for sure when it comes to the learning opportunities. So keys to success in that first year, Mike, what would you say were, for anyone starting the business today, or when you reflect back, what do you think are the keys to success for the first year?
As Jack would say, fake it till you make it. You have to come across as believable. You have to, I mean, you can't hesitate to answer. You can't like stutter or not. Like, you've got to have that confidence when you answer, even if you don't know that that's the answer. You can always go fix it. But people, when they sense that you're weak, they walk. So as Jack says, fake it till you make it. And, I don't think I believed him at first, and I learned my lesson. But fake it till you make it. You will learn it. You can always pick up the phone, as mentioned earlier, to, oh my God, I just had this conversation. I don't know anything about this. Help me. A Signworld owner will be that person to help you. No problem.
Very good. All right, let's go to one of the other owners to answer those two questions. Margie, let's go with you next.
Sure. I think you need to have, first and foremost, a person who knows how to manufacture signs, more so than you need a graphic designer. Our business is design driven, and we didn't have somebody who was really a graphic design expert. And it was really just that we could pull together images from Pinterest and put together a mood board and start talking to people about ideas of imagery of how we thought it would look, or how we thought we could ideate on some kind of new idea for their brand. And that was enough to get us solidified enough that we could start to fake it till we made it. So I don't know that graphic design was really that role was really all that important. If you have someone who has that taste level, who understands, what looks good and what doesn't. Between the four of you, which it sounds like you have that already, it doesn't really feel like you need that role specific. If I wouldn't have had a person who knew how to put together all the elements and make it into a sign, I wouldn't have been able to execute. And then for us, what held me back was more speed. I was afraid to give out pricing because I didn't cross all the T's and dot all the I's. I should have just did it. Don't sit there and hash your numbers and rehash. We all, no matter if you're dealing with someone who's in business 3 years, 6 years, or 14 years, we all are on a level playing field with time. So if you can get to the customer the first and the fastest, you have probably the best chance of closing the deal. So if you can get there first and act like you know what you're talking about, you're probably going to get the deal over everyone else.
Yeah, kind of combine the two answers between having the confidence and getting in front of the customer. Very good. All right, let's go to our last panelist. Mike Kelly, what would you say about hiring your first person? How important is it for them to have experience? And then secondly, keys to success for that first year.
I would agree. I would think, I thought the question, whether or not they need to be a graphics designer, I don't think they do need to be personally. Our business in 3 years, I would say 90, maybe 95% of the work that we have is really, the customers have artwork that just needs to be scaled to the proper wall, vehicle, sign, etc. We've had 2 clients in 3 years where they actually, and maybe it's just our business and what we chase, please tell me, create a marketing experience for me, like a true graphics designer. No way. We would never employ one. And I would also say there, if you need that professional look, what we do is we just tap into the vendors, the preferred vendors that you have to create beautiful experiences for us at a very cost-effective rate. But my first employee was a production manager. She understood the machines, and she's still with me. And she did have some graphics design capabilities for sure. So we were actually kind of lucky. We weren't looking for her, but we got her. And so she actually, kind of could fill the bill for both of us. But between, those vendors and I don't even have time to push a lot her way. We leverage the vendors because we know enough now. We have a template in place with our brand that they put, the artwork on, and we give it to the customers, and it's very professional for us. So we love that, and it works out. I guess our keys to success is, yeah, I think kind of it's just exactly what Margie and Mike were kind of saying. Answer the phone, be first, always say yes and figure it out later. That's what we do. Yeah, I've never said no. I've never turned anything away if it's something that is truly qualified in terms of a customer that we want. We go there and we just figure it out, and it's a network to tap into. And I've never been. Mike was one of the first guys that I started working with. He's been very helpful, and he just got me on my way. Oh yeah, there's tons of guys that know this stuff that are very willing to help. So don't be afraid of that, and get your processes in place, whatever it is, deterministic, repeatable, whatever it is that works for you, so that it makes bringing on new people faster, easier. You come back to those and understand, so everyone's educated on them. So that kind of works like a machine, and you can kind of get through all of those stages. And then once that order's there, once you want that, if you want an order, just, kind of, I think it was Jack or Ken, is again, just be a dog on a bone, follow up. Get that code out there as fast as you can, get it right, and then follow up and just tell them this is what you can expect from us throughout the entire process. I'm not just bugging you. This is what we're going to be on this all the time until you're happy. And this is the kind of service you're going to see from us. And that works for us. And that's the way we train our employees.
Be a dog on a bone. I think that's the best one I've heard so far today. That's awesome, Kelly. And I will call out, Kelly is, he's speaking from experience. He was our Rookie of the Year runner-up. Unfortunately, he was not the number
Corbin.
one. Corbin beat him by just a hair, but he had a great first year. So take that to heart. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. Of course, well deserved. So just our comments on that really quick, Jamie, just for the group overall. We do recommend, most of our owners, as you hear here today, have never had experience in the sign industry. So hiring someone who does have that experience is extremely helpful, and quite honestly, we believe essential to, learning this business quickly, starting to add to your team, based on the skill sets of your first person, where your gaps are. But over time, you're going to learn the business too. And having those experienced people long-term isn't quite as important. But when you first start a business, especially if it's just you as an owner by yourself, we do believe it's really critical to have someone who is doing the design work, the manufacturing, the installation, because you as an owner, I always say to people I talk to, if you're doing that yourself, you're basically paying yourself the $30 an hour, more or less, that you could pay someone else to do it. And most owners are looking for a higher, income level than that. So, plus just learning the business. So that's just kind of our corporate response to that question. All right, let's go to our next attendee. John, if you can take yourself off of mute, tell the group where you're located, and go ahead with a question.
How many Johns are there, first of all? I thought she said there were more than one.
Only one on the call today, but there are times where we might have two Steves, two Johns, two Mikes. So we just wanted to be careful to make sure we had your last name.
Sure, yeah. I'm located in Park City, Utah. I guess the question I would ask is, what did you do first to grow your business, to find clientele, and how do you leverage Signworld and its network to help you grow your base of customers?
That's a great one. I love it. All right. So how did you find your customers and grow your business, and how do you leverage Signworld within to do that? Let's go in reverse order. Kelly, let's start with you first.
So the first way that we get the majority of our leads when we start out is through the web. I think 90% of them would come through the web once it was established and ready to go. They'd come in and we'd follow up on them. But we were also, we took part in BNI. We're part of the chamber locally here. And we just do a lot of, I will call it, I guess, philanthropy work, because there's a lot of people in need of signage for, various charities. And, it's the right thing to do. So we do it, but it also yields a lot of chatter about you, and people just come to you that I just didn't even recognize. And they say, oh, we came from this foundation you guys gave some banners to or something, and it turns into sales. And BNI was pretty good for us initially. We're not in it any longer, but to start the business, it was good. So we were in for a short period of time, and we closed, I would think maybe $30,000 to $40,000 of business in the first, 6 or 7 months of that, just by that network of people. It's not for everyone, it is a time commitment, but to get you going, while you're waiting to get started up, it's not a bad idea.
Okay. Can I just ask one question about that? You said through the web, explain that. What does that mean? You got started through what does that mean?
Well, so we have, with our web presence, we have a lead magnet company that we work with that attracts leads through us through either, you know, Google ads, Google Map dots, or SEO generation. And, you know, the whole point is you want to be in the top 10 when someone types in a string, sign company near me, right? You want the pop up and get the calls, and either be it web form or phone call. And that's established in our, I don't know, maybe we get into pricing, but I think we're paying about $2,600 a month for that service. And most of them, the one we're a part of, is where they're contractually obligated to give us X amount of leads per month, qualified leads. And they've exceeded it. So once it gets established and running, it makes the phone ring. And then it's up to you to convert, of course. But that gets you the lead that you need to go compete.
And then the second half of the question, Kelly, was how has Signworld helped you in any aspect of that, whether it's, you know, finding the customers, the partners, et cetera?
Well, again, I wouldn't have even thought about joining chambers and things like that. So those are all part of the training as well. And then I've got the lead generation magnet that I use. And again, there's a few I got from Signworld as well. It was through a kind of a mastermind mini group that we had that someone else was using, and they just shared that, and it worked out. But again, tapping into people that have already done it, you don't need to invent the wheel, reinvent the wheel. It's, you know, there's guys that know how to do it in your territory, provided, you know, if there'll be an area, you know, they're all territorial, right? So they don't like step on top of each other, but they compete against each other. So there's a space in where you're going to open up that someone could provide those services to you in almost every instance. Yeah.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, Kelly, but something you mentioned in your introduction about your national customer and how you're leveraging other Signworld owners and other markets to support that customer. You want to expand on that just slightly?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's a part that I think people miss out on a lot, you know, even newer owners. And I just kind of figured it out because I kind of dumb lucked into it. But the fact that you have that national footprint, it gets so many accounts. Again, I mean, there's accounts here that people just, well, we'd like a sign in California. We were doing the Improv. Yeah, we're in Hollywood. Can you? Oh yeah, I guess I know a guy in I I don't know yet. Like I said, I never say no. Sure enough, pick up the phone. There's a guy right there within so far that can go and install that sign. And it's just, you have that. Once that mindset is set in your brain, you automatically just turn to, how do I turn this national? Because your business is a lot more valuable when it's national than when it's local. And so you want to do that eventually anyway.
Very good. Thank you, Kelly. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to Margie. Margie, how did you find your customers? How does Signworld help in any aspect of that?
Similar with that kind of thing that Kelly was saying. For sure, one of our largest customers is a bank, and going out in the community is how I met the bank president of a regional bank, and she invited me to come to their corporate office because they were rebranding, and I did a little bit of work at the corporate office. Then they started built a little branch in a neighborhood close by. I did that. Then they did a whole city block. I did the whole city block for them, exterior, interior. It was a $170,000 project. After that project was finished, they introduced me to their parent company, which owns 5 bank branches. So then all of a sudden I was doing 5 different bank branches in the United States. So all on the East Coast. And again, you know, we're doing the same thing that Kelly's doing on a national level, you know, leaning into the Signworlds that are in those areas where we're building those, are opening new banks so that we can use an installer in that area for a site visit or for installation. You know, everything's manufactured here, controlled here, and then shipped to region for installation.
Very good. And your website, as far as acquiring new customers, you want to talk a little bit about that too, since that Kelly touched on that?
Sure. I mean, we are only spending around $1,400-ish on the website. We have really nice organic SEO, so we're just using a little bit of pay-per-click. And quite honestly, for us, we're spending more time disqualifying the people who are calling than we are trying to turn those into people that we want to do business with. So it's kind of fun because when the phone rings, it's like, who gets to do business with us? It wasn't always that way. We had to take every single call that came in and do it with a smile. So now, you know, we have a threshold of $500 minimum. I actually just ran a report out of our software that 12 pages of customers and I said, you know, at page 8, we just have to cut this off. Everyone from 8 to 12 is under $500. This is what, you know, the future looks like for us. So, and then now, you know, we're building this CRM of people and market segments that we're going to go back and follow up with, because I think one of the neatest things about what we have and what we've built is that we, you know, forget about the people that we did a good job with in the past, and then how that is so repeatable. So just going back and looking at that instead of spending more money on, you know, how do I find somebody new when I've already done a good job with somebody in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Great insight. Thank you, Margie. All right, let's go to Mike. Mike, did you have a website when you first started 12 years ago? How did you get your initial customers? And, you know, how did Signworld help you in your sales and marketing efforts?
I'll do it backwards. How did Signworld help me? As Kelly had mentioned, mastermind meetings and the weekly sales calls, these topics come up like, where should I go? Who should I see? Learning how to vet a networking group is important to make sure you join the right ones so you're not wasting time. Tracking and making sure that you're getting an ROI on those. So you have it, you know, you have your Corebridge or Shop Signbox or whatever it is you're using. Make sure that you're using the things in there to track, so you know what's paying, you know, what's profitable, what's not. In terms of what generates kind of leads for us, it's the web, just like Kelly. I think I might have referred Kelly to this company he's using now. But you know, that they helped me turn a corner. That, you know, I had a website back then. Chicago is a really weird market. It's super hyper crazy competitive. There are a lot of sign companies, and it's a weird web country over here, and nobody can tell us why. There's a couple big cities like that, but the web is huge. It's funny, like, I got one of my biggest clients from a Chamber of Commerce, and it wasn't at a Chamber of Commerce event. It was from somebody who introduced me to somebody at this other company. That's how I got one of our largest clients. The philanthropy, just like Kelly mentioned, is a good thing. You got to weigh your pros and cons, though. You can't keep giving away everything, and pick and choose what you want to support. Otherwise, people find out that you just give away. They'll come in droves. One thing I didn't hear anybody mention was what you don't ask for is what you don't get. So if you don't ask for referrals, you don't get referrals. And once people become your clients, not only will they become repeat clients, but you can then ask them for referrals, because typically they all know other business owners, and you got to ask.
Absolutely. Great comments. Thank you all for that. So John, I'll just add a couple more comments here. So, you know, you've heard them mention about websites as well as networking, and that kind of is the combination overall that most owners leverage. Some leverage networking more, some leverage the web more. And you kind of heard Margie's leveraging more of her networking opportunities, where Kelly and Mike are getting more of their new business through their web. So, you know, we just recommend constantly looking at ways to, you know, evolve and improve your marketing strategy, whatever that is. And that is the key focus of the Monday morning sales classes that you've heard mentioned a couple times. Most new owners are part of our sales call classes for the first 2 years in business, so they can consistently hear from others and learn what are other ideas and best practices for them to think about in their business to continue to keep it growing. So just a couple more comments there. Sheree, I'm going to pause for a second. Do you want to go ahead and get those slideshows going in the background while we continue to take questions here?
Yeah, I'll get those started. So I have 3 slideshows. They don't have audio, so we'll continue with questions. One of them is our Wall of Fame, so a bunch of unique projects done by the owners. Another one is going to be what is a sign? So it's a bunch of different types of signs that some you have thought of, some you've never thought of. And then another one is just an introduction of a lot of our owners, where their locations are, and then a few photos of the location. So a lot of different unique things that you'll see here. And then Jeannie, if you want to continue with questions.
Very good. Thank you, Sheree. All right, let's go to our next guest. Adam, if you can take yourself off of mute and share with the group where you're located and go ahead with a question for them today. Adam, I don't know if you heard me. I see you're still look like you're muted. Sherry, have we unmuted his line? I just want to make sure he is allowed to talk. Give me a second here. Okay. I unmuted him. So Adam, are you able to unmute? Maybe you're driving and not able to. Give you another couple seconds here.
Yeah, he should be able to talk.
All right,
Just hasn't
Adam,
unmuted.
if you're not able to take yourself off mute, you can also go into the chat or Q&A and post a question in there, and I'll say it out loud for the group if you want to go that direction instead. All right, so let's go back to the top. Emmanuel, would you like to ask a second question for the owners on the call today?
Oh, wow. I'm honored. Thank you. So scaling your business, right? Like how did you approach setting your goals for the next year? Like effectively, are you always trying to scale based on your current headcount? Do you hire for your projected growth? Like how do you envision scaling your business? It sounds like a lot of folks are generally in the like $1 million to $3 million range in terms of yearly revenue. Is there kind of like a cap that you have in mind, a 5 to 10 year trajectory that you generally work towards? And how has that journey been for you thus far?
Great question. I'm gonna just paraphrase it just slightly, Emmanuel, just to keep it little bit consistent. Let's ask the owners, what is your current revenue target? What is your revenue target for 2025? And what is your path to get there? Like, what are the things you know you need to work on in your business to help you achieve that growth? So let's go ahead and start with, I'm going to go out of order here. Let's start with Kelly first. Kelly, what would you say is your current target? What's your future target? And what do you need to do to make that happen?
Very good. So our current target is 1.4, and we believe we have the pieces in place to do that. Our projection is next year we'd like to eclipse 2 million. I know that's very personal for every owner. You know, what do you want to get out of the business? Where do you want to stop? But we feel like we want to continue to grow. And in doing so, our path to getting there is kind of twofold right now, maybe three. You know, the first thing is trying to figure out, as someone else mentioned, what is it that you do that's profitable, that you like doing, that you're good at? Because that's going to make you the most money the fastest. I mean, whatever skill set you happen to have where you are, and then almost more importantly, what stuff don't you want to do? I mean, it's kind of a time suck. There's not a lot of margin to it, and it's maybe not even that interesting. So that was the first thing. We tried to figure out what it is that we want to focus on and get our team around that. What we're really good at here is we've got a lot of project management type people. So we like projects that are complicated, that require a lot of steps, we have PMP certification and those things, and it's very valuable, as you can look much better than your competition really fast, because they're usually very disorganized. But if you can have some structure and bring that, that confidence and that calm to the meetings, it helps a great deal with that. So we're focusing ourselves there. The other part is that we purchased some equipment recently that we're going to try to now wholesale out our capabilities. And so we have a whole marketing campaign that's being built and probably ready to go by the end of the year, where we'll have another lead magnet that basically we're going to fabricate routed materials to not only sign companies, but other people where we think there's a niche for us to go after, and try to keep the router 5x10, keep that running, 24/7 almost, if you will, and generate revenue there. And our third approach is we are looking for, and we're going into other areas. We're expanding our footprint as far out as we can with a sales office in another region and populating a body there where we believe it's very profitable. And we've done our research to continue to grow. So my thought is always, as it's been in corporate, if you're not growing, you're kind of declining. So you got to keep your eye on growth, if indeed that's what you want to do. And that's what we want to do right now. So that's kind of our three-pronged approach to growth.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Kelly. Mm-hmm. How about you, Mike? You've been in business now for 14.5 years. Are you still trying to get bigger? And if so, how do you scale?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. When I first started, I was like, oh, I just want to be $500,000. And when I got there, I was like, well, all right, how about $1 million? And I'm like, I just want to keep it small. I kind of like the lifestyle, and it's kind of evolved. So now I have a a bigger goal in mind. I have the desire to retire in 2028, I hope. That's the goal. So this year, our goal is 1.8. Next year is 2.2. And the reason why we don't have huge jumps is because I know last year I had some monstrous projects that wouldn't be replicatable in such a short period of time. In fact, like I mentioned that one project earlier for the truck stop place, like I already know that's June of next year. It's nowhere close for projects that large. And what was the second half of the question, Jeannie?
Just what are the things that you believe you need to put in place if you do want to keep growing your business?
Sure. If a good person walks across your path, you hire them. If they're awesome, even though you might not need them, you grab them, find a way to make that happen. I typically hire before I need somebody. I wouldn't say that the person that's currently doing the job is able to do their job in 40 hours. Sometimes they might have to work overtime, but I definitely don't have work for two people doing that. But hire for somebody before you're in over your head. And what happens is that tend to attract that type of business. You know, I know as I've refocused my business over time, because it has changed, I've definitely refocused a little bit, and you start to attract what you focus on.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Margie, what are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. I have a lot to say. So we are very regimented. We do a business plan every year, and we put all kinds of goals, strategies, tactics to that. With that, we plan for scale. And as we're doing that, we really are, as we're scaling, we're putting process to it so it becomes repeatable. We don't want to be reinventing the wheel every single time we're doing something. So we're kind of focused on market segments, you know, banking as one, commercial real estate as one. We do a lot of things with rebranding new office spaces, experiential design, that kind of thing. And then also in-house manufacturing is part of our game plan. So for us, what we have found is the more that we manufacture in-house, the more profitable we become. So the more that we can do ourselves, the more money we can make, and profit is really kind of what's driving our success. So sometimes you can do less volume and still make more money because you're just more profitable. So even if we did the same amount of sales volume this year, but we manufactured more in-house, we would make more money. So, you know, we are definitely on a growth plan, but we want to, it's one of the reasons we want to move to a space where we can have more space, we can do more in-house manufacturing so that we can do those kinds of things. That's part of our sales plan. The other thing is, you know, buying that building is more than we need. We want to put a tenant in half of that space so that that tenant will actually be able to pay almost most of that mortgage. And then when we retire out, that'll be part of our retirement strategy. So, you know, we're planning to leave the business, I would say, in 10 years completely, but we'll still have retirement income from having that building for ourselves. And then we'll be able to sell our Signworld to some other lucky person.
Absolutely. They would be lucky. All right. Great responses there. Let's go to our next guest. Jamie, you and your tribe of +3 get to come up with one more question for the group today. Do you have one?
I'm discussing with my team here. What was it? Oh, just two quick ones. She mentioned doing more of the work in-house. Do most of these owners send out their work to contractors? And then my other quick question is, are the owners on the phone receptive to, say, if I sent my 2 sons to your locations, they could shadow your employees for a week free of charge.
All right, that's a look at you're putting them on the spot here, Jamie, on a
Right.
recorded webinar call here. You're getting them locked in. All right. Let's go with Mike first. Mike, let's talk about what do you not manufacture in-house. Maybe give an example of things you do in-house and what you don't do in-house. And then are you receptive to having people shadow your operations and potentially learn about the business?
Sure. So one thing I love about the sign business is you can do it so many different ways. And my guess is Margie and I are almost exact opposites. We only do, so when you signed up for Signworld, you got a printer. Well, we have a couple printers now and a laminator. We do all kinds of prints and lots of wraps in-house. We outsource all of our 3D lettering, all of our channel letters, all of our monument signs. We don't want to mess with that stuff. There's too many, I mean, just getting a paint booth here in the city is a disaster. And it's expensive. So you need to really be able to pump out a ton to do that. But everybody can pursue their own way, which I think is awesome. And it's going to come down to what is your appetite for taking on different manufacturing. Because again, you'll start to attract what you start building because you'll have a competitive edge on pricing, you'll be, et cetera, et cetera. For a week of shadowing, I don't think so. Usually a day or a half a day is good. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
All right, there's your response. That's all good. And I want to elaborate on his point of free labor. So I don't know, you want to change your answer there, but we'll leave it at that for the moment.
I absolutely don't want to change my answer, and I can tell you in private why.
Okay, all good. All right, let's go to Margie next. Margie, share a little bit about what you do in-house, what you farm out, maybe your reasons why, and kind of what your mindset's there, and then also about having people shadow your operation.
Sure. So we don't do any electrical signage in-house. That all is the outsourced portion of it. But dimensional letters, acrylic, anything that you can cut with a laser or CNC is definitely what we want to do more of in-house. And we will have a paint booth at the new location. We do a ton of vinyl, and we would like to do flatbed printing also. We have somewhat of an interest on sustainable and things like that we can do for construction type signage because it's temporary. So we're talking to a lot of construction companies about those mesh banners that go around construction sites and how to make that reusable or not, just fill up a landfill with a bunch of mesh. So we have those kinds of things going on. One thing I forgot to mention, also, we also charge people for design. We charge people for project management. We charge people to manage their files. We charge people for color approval on every substrate that we print on. So, as we become more and more experts and brand officiants for them, there's ways that you can add to your sales so that they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Just something to keep in mind as you're building the sale. And I don't know about a whole week. One of the great things Jack does at the end of training is he gives you a list of people to contact, and you go and you do an in-person visit with them. And I went to some amazing people's locations. I went to 3 of them, and all 3 of those people are like near and dear to my heart. I will never be able to repay them for what I learned in that day. But I think if I was there for a week, I would have been miserable and they would have been miserable.
All right, fair enough. Kelly, how about you? Talk a little bit about what you do in-house, what you outsource, the why behind both of that, and then talk a little bit about having other people come into your business for shadowing.
Sure. So it's so we do, the only thing, we're not a UL certified manufacturing center yet. So we're we're looking at the business case for doing that in the fees that you have to continually do it. But other than that, we do a lot of the work on the electrical side, but we do farm out the final assembly back over. But there's lots of ways in between that, from not doing it at all to doing it all, and somewhere in between, that you can participate in that. But all of the dimensional stuff and all of the printing, we do all of that in-house. But I do know of a couple of people that were in other groups that literally work out of their homes and they don't make anything. I mean, they have a vended model and it works for them, and they figured out how to get really, really good at it. So kind of like Mike said, it's all over the place, wherever you really want to go with your business, and what you want to manufacture. Again, we feel we're kind of in project management and engineering heavy, so we kind of look for projects like that. We don't make like electronic messaging centers. We still buy those components, but we integrate them into monuments and cabinets here, for installation. So we do that. So I would say we're probably about I would say 65% in-house and about 35 vended. Some things we just don't get into, but we certainly wouldn't turn away the business because we have partners that we can have do it for us. But it's not something we're good at, or something that we could tool up and even have inventory enough to be quick enough at it to make it a decent living. Regarding the visiting, yeah, a week is probably long in any site. I mean, I would agree with what Margie and Mike both said. However, if you wanted to, fly into an area like the Midwest or like the Milwaukee area, I know there's like 5 Signworld owners here. A day at each shop might be a decent trip, and I would certainly be willing to help with that and kind of pull that kind of stuff together, because I think most areas are like that. If you just get somewhere, you can drive. For my area, there's 5 people I think here within probably 25 miles that are Signworld people that might be willing to take you up on a package trip like that. It would probably be much beneficial for those folks as well as your own people.
Yeah, well said. And then you get a variety of different ways of doing things. As you've heard, all 3 of these owners themselves all have unique ways of running their businesses. So that's a good call out. All right, we've got time for one more question. And John, I'm going to come to you and see if you have another question. If you do, take yourself off of mute and go ahead.
Yeah. With so many Signworld members or operators, I guess, is like you just mentioned in your area, Kelly, there may be 5 near you. How do you navigate that and not overlap or step on each other's toes, because they are competitors of yours? That's one. And then the other thing I've been curious is margins. How are your margins?
All right, 2 very different questions. We'll try to see if we can do them quickly. So I'd like to expand that and talk about competition in general, because that's a question that has not been asked and often is on these calls. So each of you owners, think about, how do you view the competitive environment today, both Signworld and non-Signworld owners, and just the saturation in any market. And then secondly, if you are willing to share your margins, feel free to share maybe your gross margins, your net margins, whatever you're comfortable sharing. Let's go ahead and start with you, Mike. What would you say are the competitive landscape, both Signworld, non-Signworld, and then margins?
Super competitive, both non-Signworld and Signworld. There are a lot of Signworld owners in the Chicago area, but how often do we actually compete against each other? Not that much, honestly. I very rarely see quotes from other Signworld companies, because we will negotiate once in a while on something. And in terms of margin, it really depends on the products. I mentioned before, we do like wraps in-house. I mean, we're getting at least 60% profit from those, but maybe on channel letters, I'm down to 35, 40. And then electronic message centers would be even less than that.
Very good. Thank you. Kelly, how about you? What would you say are your reaction to competition and, non-Signworld and Signworld and overall the sign industry? And then if you're willing to share anything about your margins.
Sure. Yeah. So there's here too, there's a lot of before I joined Signworld, I almost bought a franchise sign company here and made a better decision in my opinion and joined Signworld. But there's got to be a dozen sign companies within 10 miles of me. And the people that a lot of the stuff that like the franchisees type kind of people do for the most part around here, at least, they're more, a lot of them are they're B2C and not B2B. We want to be B2B. We'll do stuff for a consumer, but you know, it's almost friends, family, you know, people like that maybe repeat customers will do that stuff. So we really don't, as Mike said, we don't compete much at all. And with the Signworld people, I don't think I've, other than one guy maybe on an order in 3 years, but most of those are more, they're more collaboration opportunities than they are competitive opportunities. How do we do this together? How do we go, you know, crush the competition together with your skills, my skills, and your people, my people, and your equipment, my equipment? So it's really not, there's just so much business that I don't, I mean, and I think in most areas are the same. I certainly don't know that. But there's so much there that I don't even know that I'm competing. I wouldn't even know sometimes whether I'm competing against other people. I just don't even let it get, you know, become part of, you know, what we think about really. Here's what we do, here's what we do well, and here's what we're willing to do it for. And we just give them our pitch and let the chips fall, and they fall in, you know, to our favor most of the time. So yeah, I really don't see, you know, the competitors' situation thwarting us in any way, or nor our growth. Frankly. So yeah, they're certainly there. I know they're there, but I'm not too concerned about them. And I think I've forgotten the second part of his question. Sorry.
If you're willing to share any of your margin data.
Yep. So we strive, you know, we look at that all the time. And again, knowing your numbers is key. So we try really hard, and be price proud and push hard on anything we can, you know, to try to achieve, you know, 50%. That's what we're trying to do. And it does vary, like Mike said, by product. I mean, you know, EMCs are very expensive, so you don't need a great margin to have good money stick to your fingers. They're expensive. So, you know, you make a lot of money and you're really kind of just integrating it, and you're not building it. So you're trying to get the markup you can, but it doesn't need to be fantastic. I think so. We're shooting for like 50 and 60 on some. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we want about 22, 23% to stick to our fingers when we're done counting. So that's what we're shooting for right now.
So just to clarify, you're saying 50 to 60 on the gross margin side, and your target's in the 20s for the net profit.
Exactly. Yep. And I think we were like 22 last year or something like that, 21, 22. And obviously we want that to be more. And kind of as Margie said, you do things smarter in-house to not redo them and do the same thing 3 times and erode your margins. So we got to get smarter about how we do it, but it's achievable.
Very good. All right, Margie, you're last, but best for last.
Yeah, right.
For that one.
So competition, there's a ton of it. I can literally see another sign company from where I'm sitting from my desk, and it's irrelevant. They do vehicle wraps, and it doesn't impact our business at all. And there's one across the street I can walk to. There's a ton of bad sign companies out there. And if you pick up the phone, you do a good job, you say you do what you say you're going to do, you have nothing to worry about. There's a ton of business for all of us. I was concerned about it, and I'm quite honestly can guarantee you don't really have to be worried about it. And I have to brag about my margin. So we're in the mid 70s for gross, and we're in the 50s for net. So we really work hard on margin here, and it's my highlight.
Look at that smile.
I do.
You should be smiling at 50% net profit.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the highest. Well, not the highest, but it's definitely one of the highest within our system. So,
and we put payroll in there too, in our net. So, I mean, we're really serious about, you know, how we keep track of our COGS, and we make sure that, you know, we're covering it, and where we're missing, we fix it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Mike and Kelly, I don't mean to say that Margie's my favorite. You know, you're all my favorite. So I don't have I'm like the mom that never has a favorite, right?
That's right.
I'm going to go cry.
All right. Well, we are just a few minutes past the hour, so we do need to wrap up. So first and foremost, Margie, Kelly, and Mike, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to share your thoughts and your perspectives and your honesty and your transparency about your business with these prospective owners. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
And our
You're very
prospective
welcome.
guests today, we appreciate you joining in and wanting to learn more about our business. Us from the corporate team, we look forward to continuing to have the conversations with you as you explore this to see if it's the right fit for you. And with that, I hope everybody has a fantastic Wednesday, end of the month here in month of May. Hope it's wrapping up well for you. But again, thank you all for joining and have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks.
Take care.